Hey everyone, I hope you guys had a really good spring break. We are going to be starting with day 5 notes today. So day 5 notes is going to be about factoring trinomials. So on day 3 and day 4, what you guys did before spring break, we were pretty much multiplying binomials, trinomials, polynomials, things like that. So essentially factoring, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be undoing multiplication. So we're going to have a little warm up here. This is just review of what you guys did before spring break. So I want to multiply x plus 1 times x plus 5. So I'm going to go over here. So what we did last week was, remember, we created this box. And I put x plus 1 here, and then x plus 5 on the other side. Again, it doesn't matter which one you put on each side. And I had these highlighted. Okay, so the way that we got this yellow box was from x times x, which gives us x squared. The way that we got the green box was from x times 1. X times 1 is a positive x. Oop, I didn't mean for that to be green. The way you get this blue box is from this x and this 5. So 5 times x is 5x. And then the very last one is going to come from the 5 and the 1 to give us this purple. And 5 times 1 is a positive 5. So over here I can write everything that I have in the box. So I had a x squared plus a positive x plus a positive 5x plus a 5, okay? And if you guys look, you can see that we have 2 that are like terms, so we can add them and combine them together. So x plus 5x, that's really 1 plus 5, so we should get x squared plus 6x plus 5 as our final answer. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and try the next 2 to refresh your guys' self. I'm going to go ahead and write the answers out so you guys can pause the video and then check what you guys get. So for the next one, you should get m squared plus 6m minus 4m minus 24. Again, these 2 will combine. And then your final answer will come out to be m squared plus 2m minus 24. For the third one, this will give us a k squared minus 3k minus 7k minus 21. Again, you do have 2 terms. So negative 7k minus negative 3k is a negative 10k. So my final answer is k squared minus 10k minus 21. Okay, that's all review of what we did in the previous week. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to take these trinomials. So what we have over here, these are trinomials because I have 3 terms. And we're pretty much going to undo them and get them back to this form. So we're reversing the process this time. So when we factor trinomials, what we want to do is we want to find 2 integers that add to b and multiply to c. So c. And then we want to add to b. Okay. So there's a lot of ways that people go about factoring. The way I'm going to teach it is using the box method because that's how we use to multiply. That's how it's going to be taught next year in Algebra 2. So it's just going to keep you guys on the same track. If you guys go to Khan Academy or Flip Math to look at help, it may be taught a little bit differently. I'm fine with either way. Just the box method is probably going to be more convenient for you guys in the future. So we're going to do a guided example first. So I want to factor x squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay, so the way I'm going to go about doing this, sorry, I'm going to zoom in to make it a little easier to write, is I'm going to draw a box, okay, just like we did before. Make sure you have 4 little spaces on the inside. Okay, so you're going to fill in these 2 spots. Okay, what goes in the yellow is your very first term. So that's going to be x squared. And then your next one is going to be this 12. Your last term that goes in your blue box. Okay? So I'm going to have to find integers. Okay? They're going to have to find integers that multiply to something and also add to something. So what I want it to multiply to is what the product, so when I multiply these 2 right here, so 12 times x squared, okay, well 12 times x squared is 12x squared, okay? That's what I get. I want to multiply to 12x squared. So 2 numbers that multiply to 12x squared, and I want 2 numbers that also add to 7x. Okay? So, I'm going to just make me a little chart of here. Some of you guys will be very quick at realizing what numbers do this. Others, you might have to make a chart. You'll get better at this with practice, so don't get frustrated. So, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to start writing numbers that multiply to 12. 12x squared, okay? So start with your basics. Well, we know 1x and we know 12x will multiply to 12x squared. But does 1x plus 12x add to 7x? No. So that's not an option, okay? So now I'm going to go to my next one. Okay, does 2 go into 12? Yeah. So how many times does it go into 12? 2x times 6x. 2x times 6x does give us 12x squared because 2 times 6 is 12 and x times x is x squared. But does 2 plus 6 add to 7x? No. So that one's not going to work. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Does 3 go into 12? It does. It goes into it 4 times. So 3x and 4x. Okay. So 3x times 4x does give us 12x squared. Does 3x plus 4x add to 7x? Well, 3 plus 4 does give us 7. So this is our correct one. Okay. So I'm going to put a 3x in this box and a 4x in this box. It does not matter the order that you put those in, okay? I could have put 4x where I put 3x. It really doesn't matter. Okay, and now we're going to start pulling out our greatest common factor in these, okay? So I'm going to look at my very first row, okay? My first row is the x squared and the 3x. That's my first row. So what can I take out of an x squared and a 3x? Okay, let's look at our numbers first. I have a 1 and I have a 3. Okay, well, the biggest thing I can take out of a 1 is a 1. Okay, now I'm going to work with my x squared and my x. Okay, so this x squared means that I have 2 x's, right? X squared is really x times x, so I have 2 x's. Okay, and this x beside my 3x, I only have 1 of them, okay? So you can only take out the lowest thing that you have. So I only have 1 x in this 3x, so that's all I can take out, okay? Then I'm going to go to my second row. I have my 4x and my 12, okay? Well, what can come out of a 4 and a 12? Well, 4 can come out of a 4. Can 4 come out of a 12? Can I divide 12 by 4? If you can, which we can, you can take that out. So I'm going to take out a 4. I have an x on my 4x, but I don't have an x on my 12. So I can't take out an x because there's not one in both places. Okay? Now I'm going to go to my first column, so my x squared and my 4x. Okay, so I have x squared, a 1x squared, and a 4x. So for my numbers, I have a 1 and a 4. The highest thing I can take out of a 1 and a 4 is a 1. Okay, then I'm going to do my x squared. So again, I have 2 x's here and 1 x here. So all you can take out is that 1x. Okay, and then your second column, you have a 3x and a 12. Okay, so let's do our numbers first. I have a 3 and a 12. So what can I take out of 3 and 12? Well, 3 can come out of 3. 12 can come, a 3 can also come out of 12. So I'm going to take a 3 out. And do I have an x in both of these boxes? No, so I can't take an x out. Okay? So your answer is going to come out of what we just took out. So I have up top an x plus 3. And then on the side, I have an x plus 4. And this right here is your final answer. So what two numbers multiply to 12? Oh, this was 3 and 4. And then that would be your final answer, the x plus 3 and the x plus 4. Okay. I know it's a lot of work, but with time, you guys are going to get much better at realizing what numbers multiply and add together. So don't get frustrated. Just keep practicing these. In Algebra 2, you guys are going to start factoring sometime in November, and you will factor pretty much every day for the rest of the year. Okay, so this is extremely important to get down. Okay, so we're going to start with 1. I'm going to just do this like first row right here. So factor each trinomial, okay? Again, I'm going to create a box. Again, what goes in this first box and my last corner box are what we put in first. So my first box is the n squared. My last box is the 20. So n squared and 20. Okay? So I need two numbers that multiply and add to something. Okay? Remember, to find out what we multiply to is I multiply these two right here, the ones that I've highlighted. So 20 n squared. And I also am going to add to 9n. You add to that middle one. Okay? So I'm just going to start going through. Again, you guys don't have to make this chart over here if you guys know off the top what multiplies to 20 and adds to 9 pretty much. But I'm going to make it over here so that people can see. So my very first one that I know I can do is a 1n times a 20n. Okay? 1 times 20 is going to be 20, and then n times n is n squared. But does 1 plus 20 add up to 9? No. So we're going to mark that one off. Okay? Then we can go to our next one. So the next one that I'm going to try is a 2. Does a 2 go into 20? It does. So 2n. And how many times does it go into 20? It goes into it 10 times. So 10n. Okay? 2n times 10n is 20n squared. But does 2n plus 10n add to 9n? No. Okay? So my next number I could check is 3n. But does 3 go into 20 any? It doesn't go in evenly. So I'm going to go to my next number, which would be 4. So 4n. Does 4 go into 20 evenly? It does. So if you take 20 and you divide it by 4, you should see that you get 5n, which makes sense because 4 times 5 gives you 20. Okay. So 4n times 5n is 20n squared. Does 4n plus 5n add to 9n? It does. So this is what we're going to put in our boxes. So 4n and 5n. Okay? And now I'm going to start taking out my highest thing I see in each row and column. So there's an understood 1 in front of that n squared. I made my box too small. I can't write it. Okay? So what can I take out of an n squared and a 4n? Okay, well, my number that I can take out, is a 1, because there's a 1 in front of that n squared. And then I have 2 n's in my first box and 1 n in my second box. So the highest thing I can take out is 1 n. Okay. Then I'm going to go down to my second row, so 5n and 20. So 5n and 20, I have a 5 and I have a 20. So I know I can take a 5 out of a 5. Can I take a 5 out of a 20? Does 5 go into 20 evenly? It does. So I can take a 5 out. And then I need to see if I can take an n out. So I have an n in my first box, but I don't have an n in my second box. So I cannot take out an n. Okay. Then I have n squared and 5n for my first column. Okay, so I have a 1n squared and a 5n, so the highest thing I can take out is that 1. And then I see that I have 2 n's in my first one and 1 n in my second one. So the highest n you can take out is just that 1 n. Okay. So on to my last column. So 4n and 20, so I have a 4 and a 20. Well, I know I can take a 4 out of a 4. Can I take a 4 out of 20? You can. 4 goes into 20 evenly, so I'm going to take a 4 out. And then I'm stuck to look at my n's. So n and no n in my 20, so that's all I can take out. So my final answer up top, oops, this looks bad. Oh well. Is going to be n plus 4 and n plus 5. This is my final answer. Okay. So on to number 3. We're going to do the exact same thing. So a squared goes in my first one, and 24 is going to go in this bottom one. So I want to multiply to 24a squared, and I'm going to add to 10a. Oops, that's an 11. 10a. Okay. So let's start going through. So I know a 1a and a 24a will work. Does 1a plus 24 add to 10a? No. Okay, so we can't do that one. Next, I'm going to do 2a. 2a goes into 24a squared, 12a times, okay? Does 2 plus 12 add up to give me 10? No, so this one's not going to work. Okay, so now I'm going to check 3. Does 3 go into 24? It does. So 3a times 8a. Sorry, I don't know why that took me so long. Does 3 plus 8 add up to 10? No. So now we go on to our next one. Does 4 go into 24? It does. So 4a times 6a. So we know 4a times 6a is 24a squared. Does 4a plus 6a add up to 10a? It does. So this is your answer choices. So you're going to put a 4a and a 6a. Okay. So now I'm going to start taking my GCF out of each one. So out of my first row, I can take out a 1a. Out of my second row, I can take out of a 6. Out of my first column, I can take out a 1a again. And then out of my second column, I can take out a 4. So that is going to be your answer. So we write this answer over here as a plus 4, which is your top one, and then my side one is a plus 6. Okay. So, on to number 5. We have a box. We'll do the exact same thing. So in my first one, we have the n squared, and in the second one, we have the negative 18, okay? So n squared goes here, negative 18 goes right here. So I want to multiply to negative 18 n squared, and I want to add to 3n. Okay? Where I got that 3n from is right here. Okay, so again, we're going to create our little chart over here. Okay, so this time I want to multiply to a negative 18n squared. So it's a little bit different, not by much. So what I just need you guys to remember is that when we're multiplying to a negative number, one of those numbers is going to have to be negative. Because if you guys remember, if I have 2 positives, so if I have 2 times 2, this is going to give me a positive 4, right? Because 2 positives give me a positive. So what if I had negative 2 times negative 2? If I had 2 negatives being multiplied together, well, 2 negatives also make a positive. So this would give me positive 4. So the only way to multiply to this negative right here is by having some type of negative in your answer, okay? So we'll start off. I know that I could have negative 1n times 18n, okay? Well, does negative 1 plus 18 add to 3n? No, okay? My next one, I know that negative 2 can go into negative 18, so let's try negative 2n. And it goes into it 9 times 9n, okay? So negative 2n times 9n is negative 18n squared. Does negative 2 plus 9 add up to give me 3n? No. Okay. My next one, I can do negative 3. Oops. Negative 3n goes into negative 18 squared, 6n times. Okay? So negative 3n times 6n is negative 18n squared. Well, what does negative 3n plus 6n add to? Well, it adds to 3n. which is what we're looking for. So this is our answer. So I put a negative 3 in here and then a 6 in here. Okay. So again, we're going to go with taking our stuff out. So my first row, the n squared and the negative 3n. So I have a positive 1 here and a negative 3n. So the biggest thing I can take out is that 1. Again, I can only take out 1 n because I have 2 n's in my yellow box, that n squared, and only 1 n beside that negative 3. Okay. Then on to my second row, I have 6n and negative 18. Well, I can take a 6 out of a 6. Does 6 go into negative 18? Yeah. So I can take a 6 out, but I can't take an n. So on my first column, I have n squared and 6n. So the biggest thing I can take out is that n, just one of them. And then I have a negative 3n and a negative 18. Well, they're both negative, so I know I can take out this negative right here. And then I have a 3 and an 18. Well, I can take a 3 out of 3, and I can take a 3 out of 18. So I can take out a negative 3. So my final answer, can be written as n minus 3 from up top and n plus 6 from the side. Okay. So on to the next one. Again, create your box. So in my first one is going to be the g squared, and in the bottom one is going to be my negative 6. Okay, so I'm multiplying to negative 6 g squared, and I'm also going to add to positive g. So this is really just a 1g. Okay. Again, I have a negative, so I should have a negative in my answer. Only one though. Okay. So let's start small. So negative 1g and a positive 6g. Okay. Well, negative 1 times 6 is going to give me that negative 6 that I'm looking for. But does negative 1 plus 6 add to positive 1? No. Okay. And then I also can do negative 2g, and I can do positive 3g. Negative 2g times positive 3g is negative 6g squared. Does negative 2g plus a positive 3g add to a positive 1? It does. So this right here is going to be what you put in the box. So again, negative 2g and a positive 3g. Okay, so out of my first row, my g squared and my negative 2g. Okay, well, I have a 1 understood in front of that g squared, so the biggest thing I can take out is that 1. Then I have a g squared and a g, so 2 g's and 1 g. So all you can take out is 1 g. Then I'm going to go to my second row, so 3g and negative 6. Well, I know I can take a 3 out of a 3. Can I take a 3 out of that 6? So I'm going to take a 3 out. I can't take a negative 3 out because I don't have a negative in front of that. And then I have a G and no G. So I can only take out that 3. Okay? Then go to your first column. So in my first column, I have a 1G squared and a 3G. Okay, well, 1 and 3, so the only thing I can take out is that 1. And then I have a G squared and a G. So I can only take out that G. And then my second column, my last column, I have a negative 2G and a negative 6. So negative 2 and negative 6. So I know I can take out a negative because they're both negative. Then I have a 2 and a 6. Well, I know I can take a 2 out of a 2, and I can take a 2 out of a 6. So I can take a 2 out. Can I take a G out, though? No, because the only one that has a G is the negative 2G, not that negative 6. Okay? This one, that second one doesn't have a G. So my final answer from the first up top is going to be G minus 2. And then on the side, I have a G plus 3. Okay? And so that's all you guys do. I know these can be time consuming at first, but I promise they will get easier once you guys practice these. You guys will be able to see. You won't have to go through each option every time. Okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to try 2 through 8. So try those 4 problems. I'm going to put, you guys can pause it. I'm going to put the answers up. Okay? So for 2, you guys should get W plus 6. That's still a highlighter. So now with the pencil, you should get W plus 6 and a W plus 3. For 4, you guys should get a Y plus 1 and a Y plus 1. Okay? When you guys get an answer like this, since there's 2 of the exact same, you guys agree Y plus 1 and Y plus 1 are the same, I want you guys to rewrite this as Y plus 1 squared. Okay? For 6, you should have gotten X plus 4 and X minus 2. And for 8, you should have got C plus 9 and C minus 5. Okay, so these are all the answers that you should have gotten once you tried these on your own. Okay, if you guys did not get those, shoot me an email and I will go through them with you in more detail. So you guys do have homework on this. It's going to be day 5 homework. I need to see your guys' work with the box, okay? A lot of you guys are putting answers down and work is required for these types of problems. So I need to see your work for you guys to get credit. Again, if you have any questions, please email us. We are here to help you guys. That's all. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Bye. Okay, where do I go to stop this?